What's up, everybody? Thank you once again for joining me as I look at all the mainline Final Fantasy games. Today we are starting with 7. Uh, Arguably one of the most popular games in the franchise. This game came out in 1997 in both Japan and the US. This was also the debut of Tetsuya Mura as the main character designer, as well as coming up with a limit break system. This game being so popular that, yeah, we've had multiple re-releases as well as a huge release in the Final Fantasy VII remake that they had been announced years ago and only recently came out in 2020. So that was a long way because I believe they announced it like maybe 2015, maybe as early as that. But yeah, so 7 being a huge hit. It debuted on the PlayStation 1. And as I said, it was the debut of Tetsuya Nomura helping with the series as well as taking over lead character designs. 7 was a lot of people's first RPG. The marketing for it was absolutely huge when it came out. And they really were pushing like the cinematics because it was the first jump into 3D. Now, it actually started its life in 3D with a tech demo of characters from 6. You can see on the screen as Locke, Shadow, and Celeste from part 6. And it was originally going to be for the Nintendo 64. Because up until this point, Square had worked exclusively with Nintendo to make their games, or to release their games at least, on their systems. But with Nintendo insisting on staying with cartridges, and they had an attempt at a disk drive system, the Nintendo 64 Double D, I believe is what they called it, which just really wasn't going to pan out. Square just really saw that there was so much limitations in what they wanted to do on compared to what they wanted to do on cartridges. So they had the opportunity to go with Sony's new PlayStation disc-based console, and they've been with them ever since. And the big selling point again was the CG. Now, like the cutscenes, which now, of course, by today's graphics, not quite as impressive as they once were, but when this came out, oh, these were just mind blowing. And every single commercial that you ever saw for this game showed you these. So it was a big push for graphics and the cinematics of Final Fantasy, which has really been a mainstay with the franchise, for better or worse, in my opinion, since. And the marketing was so great that people who never played an RPG before were very anxious to pick this up. And with the game being a lot more mature and, while not modern, obviously, it's still the Final Fantasy kind of steampunk, future, medieval mixture it's always been. You have characters with guns, and we have modern technology and trains and uh, cussing, and like it is a teen-rated game. And while some things don't hold up, Barrett is very much a black stereotype of the late '90s, with good old slang like "foo" and "sucker," and the kind of stuff that doesn't hold up, but he's still a great character, and that's what I think holds up for a lot of this game. While the story does isn't to me isn't all that great. Now, okay, I'm just going to come out and say it. Actually, I'm going to quote somebody who I think said it perfectly. Pro Jared, a YouTube reviewer and big Final Fantasy player, said that Final Fantasy VII is probably the most overhyped Final Fantasy game, but that doesn't take away from how important of a game it is. It's a good game, and it gets a lot of hype and a lot of, probably more so than it honestly deserves. But overall, it's a good game and it's a super important game. Again, this game made a lot of new RPG players, and you can't take away from that, regardless of a fairly convoluted storyline, the amnesia thing, and just a lot of different little things that you can nitpick any story out to death. Don't get it wrong, but with I mean, you just can't hate the style and the look and the feel of the game. I've beaten it several times myself. It's a game I don't mind going back and playing every now and again because it's still a good game. It's just not. I'd say it's middle of the road personally on my list of Final Fantasies. And while it has a world-ending storyline. Of course, Sephiroth wanting to destroy the Earth as he does. It's still loaded with a bunch of like fun mini games, and which of course, as serious as it takes, Cloud will still take time to snowboard down a mountain, regardless of him trying to find out who he is, why Sephiroth destroyed everything he loves, and the mystery of such. But no, it's a very good game. That's just, yeah, I mean, it's good. There's far worse, but to me, it's not the best Final Fantasy. We went over that in the last video that I did, but it's still a very good one. And again, this one debuted limit breaks, a key factor in a lot of games, a lot of Final Fantasy games as well. Others where you take the more damage you take, you build up to where you can unleash a special attack, and these special attacks are unique to each character, and it kind of really like defines their style and stuff like it's a lot. It's a fun system, and of course like the cinematic camera sweeps through battle, being in 3D like it's early 3D, but it's still very good 3D. For its time, it was like I remember when it came out. Yeah, I was completely enthralled. I loved this game, and I still do love the game. It's just it's not. To me, some aspects just really don't hold up anymore. The story being the main factor, and Sephiroth with who arguably has one of the coolest boss themes ever created, as we all know, the One Winged Angel. If you know Final Fantasy or even just Kingdom Hearts, you know that song. And like I said, it's deserving of a lot of praise. Although I think people hold it to a higher regard than it deserves. Like it's very good, but it's not the end all be all Final Fantasy. Regardless of how many remakes, re-releases, and like this game has had probably more now. I think it's topping four overall for like the different versions and spin-offs from Vincent's Dirge of Cerberus game to the Crisis Core on PSP that kind of told the story of Zack. And like I said, again, it's a solid game that just might be a little overhyped, but if you like it, nothing wrong with that. There are far worse games in the franchise than this one. But that's going to do it for now. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, we'll catch you next time.